Hi, I'm Gwen Roberts and welcome to my very first video. I had a lot of requests to show how to do skin texture and render realistic skin, so I'm giving it a go. So I hope you can all hear me clearly and see what I'm drawing nice and clearly. So start with, this is a drawing I'm working on at the moment. As you can see, I've put all the shading in and get the tonal values correct first before I start putting in any skin texture and any detailing. Some artists will do it as they go along, but this is just the way I work, and basically you've just got to find your own way of doing it and just finding your own methods. But I'm just showing you how I do it, really, and then you can experiment from there, and hopefully this just gives you a few pointers and how it can sort of help you develop your work. So anyway, I always say I like to use paper with a bit of tooth, because if you look at the texture of the paper, when you apply the graphite, particularly, I'll zoom in just so that you can see. I'm going to work on this knee area here. Let's move the camera a little. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to work on this little area here, just a little section at a time. So I started to use the pencil on its side, like so, just very lightly. So as you can see, it starts to bring out the texture of the paper, and you can see all these undulations in the paper and its own texture, and it kind of looks like skin. So what I do is I'll bring out these little sort of the dark bits and the light bits and all the undulations in that, to bring it out and emphasize it where I want to emphasize it and where I don't want to. Do you know what I mean? So I manipulate it more so that I can make it look like realistic skin. So hopefully you can see. I'll just zoom in a little bit more. My camera won't go in anymore, but hopefully you can see, if you look really, really closely, there's tiny little dark areas and there's tiny little white areas. Now, if you have a look at your own skin, if you think of a cross section of skin, it's very bumpy, it's up and down, and you've got to pay attention to where the light is hitting these concave bits and these sort of dome parts of the skin. So you might have a raised pore. So just have a look at your own skin and see how the light is hitting that. I mean, some parts of your skin it's sort of liney, and some parts you'll have pores, some parts it'll have raised pores. So it's really looking hard and observing skin texture and what it's like in different parts of the body. So like for the knee area, for example, just here, it'll probably be very liney. But around here, you might find more raised pores. So what I do is I'll find a little light area such as that. Hopefully you can see it. There's a little tiny white dot, and already from shading from the side of my pencil, it's left these little marks. So all I do basically is just tease it out. Tease that white bit out. There's an area next to it, it's another white bit. You see? So I just put a little half moon. So I'm paying attention to the direction of the light, where the light's coming from. And if you imagine this amplified, imagine you're drawing a ball, a sphere, or a dome, and the light's coming from this direction, so it's going to hit that little dome. So you're just doing that basically on a very minute scale. And as you look at the paper, you can see, look, there's another tiny little white dot there. I can see darker areas. I'm just going to tease these out. Now I'm using a 2B pencil. I mean, it depends on the depth of tone of the drawing as to what pencil you're going to use. So, you know, in lighter areas, obviously you might use an HB, or you might use a darker 4B, or, you know, depending on the area that you're working on. But I've been using a 2B in this area because it's kind of a mid-tone. So hopefully you can see how I'm starting to bring out, and also you've got to kind of pay attention to the way skin follows a little pattern. I mean, at this stage, all I'm going to do is just bring out the texture, and then I'll just tie it in together with blending, and bring out the sorry, I'm drifting off into my zone now. We'll stop talking because I'm in the zone. So there's little light areas here. So yeah, so I just kind of work on it and rework it. I might go over this and blend it in and then rework it again. It's quite a long process. But there is no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, what matters is the end results. And if you're happy with that and it works, who cares how you got there? Okay. So I'm just tweezing out these little white bits, these little white areas. So for example, this is quite a sort of a bumpy skin tone area here. If you're drawing pores that go inwards, obviously then the light's going to hit it in a different way. It's going to have a different light. So the light's going to be hitting the back of the pore, and your shadow is going to be at the front. So it's going to be completely opposite to this. If you can see this little one here, it's got a little white area and then a dark area at the back. If you imagine that in reverse, then that would give the feeling of it going in. So all these lessons we had when we were kids of drawing spheres and all these sort of things, they are useful, they come into play, especially doing this. So it's quite important. So that is pretty much it. It really is as simple as that. That's the way I do it. It's just basically pulling out these little white bits just to make them stand out more. Always think about the direction of your light, because actually if you look at this section of the knee, this bit here is very dark, so it won't really capture much light, so I'm going to be leaving that really dark. This area of the knee is going to be quite bright, but this area, it's in that kind of mid-tone where the skin actually looks very, very heavily textured. When the light hits this kind of tone, that's when you really want to bring out quite a lot of texture. When it's brighter, just like in a photograph, it becomes a little bit more overexposed. But I'd also say another tip when you're drawing skin, that nothing is ever white. Nowhere on our own bodies is completely white. There's only a few areas that the light might catch and just glint off. So I always say, really, white just doesn't work for me. I like to make it look as natural as possible and as close to a photograph as possible, because not all areas are completely sharp in a photograph. It depends what kind of style you're wanting to create, but I want it to look natural, and when you're looking at somebody in real time, in the flesh, you only look at one area. You look into their eyes and the rest is in your peripheral vision, and you can't actually see all the details all in one go. So for me it's important to have some areas slightly blurred. Try and make it as real as possible. So that's about it really. I may work this a bit more, blend it, who knows, but I'm going to leave it at that for now and then carry on working on the rest of the knee, and then I'll probably revisit this area and see how I need to work it. It may need to be a bit darker, I may need to lighten it, whatever. It's just sort of a work in process, but hopefully that has given you a bit of a steer on how to render skin. And yeah, happy drawing, and thank you for watching my video.